guest. Before we introduce the guest, just as a reminder, what Earth is Our Witness is about. It is an invite-only showcase to showcase kind of the work of interesting photographers and explorers all around the world, with the goal of inspiring, either creativity or compassion that truly connects us all. Before I introduce our special guest today, want to welcome you all again. Thanks for attending this live. Thanks for sharing this restream, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. That's what we count on, is to spread the word. And with that, let's welcome, my friend and artist in residence, Art Wolfe. Art, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to see Shivang's work. I met him last year in Rajasthan at the very location or some of the locations that he is going to be talking about tonight. So I'm really excited to see his work.
Well, with that, let's everyone welcome our guest photographer of the day today, Shivang Mehta. Shivang is a creative wildlife photographer from India. He's a Canon ambassador, does some amazing work with tigers. He has many books published. But today he's going to talk about a very interesting topic called leopards and shepherds. And as I said earlier in the introduction, the whole concept of Earth is a Witness is to talk about how things are interconnected, and what a great topic for us here. What a treat to hear from Shivang on leopards and shepherds. He's going to talk about the coexistence of, the two species, the human species and the leopard species in a remote area of India. With that, let's welcome Shivang. Shivang, great to have you join us. Thanks so much for contributing and for sharing your work today with us.
Thank you, Parimal, and good morning to everyone out here in India and to all the people who are watching this episode. And thanks a lot, Art. I mean, it's such a coincidence that we are meeting again and talking about the same topic that we discussed last time when we met in March last year.
Yes.
At the same location. So, without wasting any further time, I'll just share my screen.
Yeah. Let's do it. And it's India, 8:30 in the morning. So you're clearly not having whiskey like I am having. You're probably having chai or coffee.
I'm having my coffee.
You're a good man.
I could see that Art was having his tequila. And I was wondering whether, he's going to see leopards, transformed into jaguars after having tequila.
I kept myself to one shot of tequila, so I'm quite alert and focused.
That's a good one, Shivang. I like it. I'm not the only one who has banter with Art. You too. That's good. We are on a fine start.
Yeah. So, before I start showcasing some of the images, it's very important to understand the dynamics of Indian wildlife. If I talk about India as a country, it is such a fascinating country. If you just think about the geography of India, we have so many different kind of habitats and forests, right? From the upper altitudes of the Himalayas. If you go down further, you have grasslands, rainforests, swamps, mangroves. So there are various kinds of habitats, and that is the reason why this country is able to support and be home to so many diverse species. I mean, if we just think about it statistically, there are around 39 species of cats in the world, and 16 of them are in India. So India is home to around, nearly 30 to 35% of global cat species. The other fascinating thing about this country is that despite the population, our wildlife has been surviving, and it has been coexisting with humans for centuries. And this particular story is just a small example of coexistence of humans and animals in a very remote village in Rajasthan, where I did some work for a couple of years. And that's where I met Art as well. So this is a place called Javai. We also call it as Beda. It's around, if people are familiar with the geography of Rajasthan, it's around 3 hours from this place called Udaipur, which is a very popular city in Rajasthan. And for centuries, this particular habitat has had leopards living with the
So what
shepherds,
happened?
shepherds of the region.
Got it.
So, how did my interest in this particular landscape start? It started all because of it would be very funny for me to accept this fact, but I always wanted to go to Sabi Sands in South Africa for photographing leopards, and I have friends in South Africa and all wildlife photographers. They had been sending me quotations and rates for visiting Sabi Sands, and I used to find it very expensive. Then something clicked in my head, and I said that, listen, I stay in a country with around 14,000 leopards. So
Is that
why?
right? 14,000 leopards in India.
Yeah, approximately, India has quite a few number of leopards. They're
Wow.
widespread all across India. And in this kind of a country, if I'm staying here, then why do I go to Africa for photographing leopards? And especially my interest for going to Sabi Sands was shooting leopards after dark, because that was something which was quite fascinating for me. So then I chose this area of work. I said, let me go to Bera. It's not a new location. A lot of people go to Bera, but I just went there to observe leopards after sunset. So I used to go there in the evening with two cars. One vehicle used to fire the light as soon as the leopards started moving around after sunset, and I used this directional light for photographing leopards. So that was my initial work in this particular area, and I was enjoying doing that. But the other fascinating part about this entire landscape was the habitat in itself. So these rocks, these rocks are so dated. I mean, it's literally from the Precambrian era. Around 4.6 billion years ago, these rocks would have been formed, and
Wow.
patrol these areas in such a dynamic style. So more than the leopards, it was the habitat and these rock patterns which was very, very fascinating for me to photograph. Because I mean, we see leopard images from Africa, from a lot of places in India as well, but I have never seen this kind of habitat depiction which is prevalent out there in Javai. So so that's a leopard sitting up there on one of the rocks. And again, I mean, each and every sighting which you have of a leopard, at times, it's just a small needle in a haystack. And at times, I always used to wonder that how these guides and spotters are able to see these leopards so well camouflaged in this entire landscape. So that's another beautiful rock pattern and the characteristic cactus and stuff which is there in that habitat. So there's no vegetation. There's hardly any vegetation in that area. All you see is rocks.
Shivang,
Yeah.
Shivang, can I interrupt?
Sure.
In the previous image, I did not see the leopard.
That's probably because you will have to, on your right hand side of the screen, you have the thumbnails where we are seeing each other faces. So
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I do. I do see at the top, but you're right. Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I asked that, because that's what I suspected, but in the next image, it's in the lower right quadrant. Go on to the next image. But I would guarantee you a lot of people looking at this will not see it. So you might want to explain where the leopard is. It's beautiful and the scale is stunning, but a lot of people might be missing it.
The leopard is on the bottom left corner. You see that round rock. So just go diagonally towards the bottom left and you'll see the leopard out there.
It's actually on the right for us.
Bottom right.
Sorry,
yeah.
Bottom right. Sorry.
Bottom right. It's stunning. I got to say, can I just give my reaction? I've seen this before, but just my reaction every time I see this image, Shivang, it's like beautiful rocks in itself, beautiful rocks. And then suddenly a leopard shows up when I don't expect, and it just is a chilling effect, if you will, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have so many amazing rock patterns out there in that landscape. that I still have a big laundry list of wishes that, oh, wish I see a leopard on this rock, I see a leopard on that kind of a
It'll
rock.
happen.
So yeah.
Miracles do happen. Yeah, keep
happen.
going.
So having worked in that particular landscape, I was also very fascinated to see the amazing leopard behavior out there, things which I have never even read in books. So, of course, this is a image of a leopard mating. But when this image was taken, I think in the subsequent evenings, I got a call from one of the locals that there's another leopard mating happening in one of the caves. So I went there, waited for quite a bit, and right after sunset, in the car headlight, I saw one leopard popped out from that cave, and that was a female. And behind that female, there were three males which popped out. So there were four leopards, one female and three males, stuck inside a cave, and there was a mating happening. So in front of me on those rocks that evening, I saw that female mated with one male, and then immediately she mated with the other male. So that, those are kind of fascinating leopard behavior, stories which keep on getting unfolded in this particular region in Rajasthan.
It's amazing.
It's I love the expression on the female looking straight at the camera is really quite compelling.
Yeah, I mean, this for me was a nice composition because the rock literally looks like a bedroom. It's like a throne or a bedroom.
It's a royal bedroom, yes.
So while we were searching for leopards over a period of months, we bumped across this very interesting family where this female had given birth to four cubs. And so that was quite fascinating because I got in touch with a lot of leopard experts, even scientists and researchers who have been working on leopards. And I wanted to know whether there have been any past record of leopard with four cubs. So, well, there have been records, but whether these four cubs would survive in this kind of a harsh terrain, that was always a question mark. So, I picked up this particular family as, as an area of study that, we just thought that, okay, let's start following this particular family and see what happens in the coming months, especially because, in that particular area in Jawai, there is no natural prey. In many of the forests in India, Art has been to so many forests, you would know that you have cheetahs and sambars and, wild boars. But out here in Beira, there is no natural prey. I mean, you won't even see a deer out here. The only thing which these leopards survive on is cattle and livestock.
Ooh.
From here, we arrive at the story of the shepherds, because these shepherds are the Rabari tribe, and these are nomadic people who have essentially entered into India thousands of years back via Iran and Afghanistan. But they are all Hindus, and they set up their temporary camps. They take these goats and all to the same hills where the leopards live. And in the history of this region, there has not been any case of human-animal conflict for the past many years. So, and I also talk about the fact that why there's no conflict. And these stories about Rabaris, it's a very fascinating community. That's a Rabari village, and even the young ones are busy milking the goats and all.
Beautiful.
Very interesting. By the way, I've got to say, I love the angle of this shot.
Yeah, it was a wide-angle perspective of, there's this old Rabari shepherd who was sitting out there with these wonderful looking boots and all. And these boots are also made of, I think it's a handmade leather kind of a thing which these guys wear. So, and I believe it's a camel leather or something. So very long lasting piece of footwear.
Well, it's a big, that photo shows a lot of things happening. Yeah, the girl is holding, picking up a lamb, or not a lamb, but a kid.
Yes, it's
and
a goat, yeah.
I like the fact that the young man is kind of glancing away. So my eye constantly is rotating around this image. You're offering a lot to us. It's beautiful.
Thank you. So the Rabaris are great storytellers. I mean, you look at these old, these hands, and for me, all these kind of visuals, it connects very well to the granite structure of those rocks, and there is a kind of a similarity between these hands who have been roaming around in these forests and touching those granite rocks on a daily basis, climbing those rocks. So, and once you sit down with these people, there are some fascinating stories you get to know about how they have been surviving with leopards. And one key aspect about Indian culture and the reason why wildlife has been coexisting with people in India. So religion is a major aspect. So Rabaris are Hindus and they are worshippers of Lord Shiva, and who is the god of destruction. And so they believe that Shiva, as a part of the clothing he wears, he wears a leopard skin, right? So for them, they actually worship leopards, and there are so many temples out there in that particular landscape that you will always see a small leopard statue at the entrance of the temple. And even if a goat is being killed, so normally in India there's a practice that if a farmer loses his livestock to a wild animal, especially a tiger or a leopard, there's a kind of a compensation which has been given to him by the government in case he claims for that. But in case of Rabaris, a lot of times these guys, they don't even go to the forest department. And in this particular region, even the local hoteliers, they pool in some funds in order to compensate the locals when they lose the livestock. But in case of Rabaris, they don't even visit or bother to inform them that we have lost our goat, because they believe that it's an offering to Lord Shiva.
Wow.
Leopard has come and snatched away the goat. So so these are fascinating stories which these guys tell about their relationship with leopards, and especially when you sit with them in the evening in the villages, they'll always come up with some new mythological connect, which makes you wonder that religion is such a strong element. It can be such a strong element when it comes to conservation of wildlife. It can definitely contribute, because it creates a kind of an emotional impact with people.
It's amazing. What a story. I mean, I'm Indian and I did not know that, Shivang. So thank you for that.
Yes, and I mean, these are just some of the stories. I mean, there are so many such stories out here in India where there's wildlife thriving around temples and people are not harming those things. In fact, people are feeding species like bears and all, just because every kind of species has got some kind of a mythological significance in some story which has been told, in the past.
You just highlighted the point, Shivang, that I want to underscore is how mythology can play a role in conservation, if you will.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
It's something that, I had not connected the dots up until now. Really, it's very interesting.
I think even if you read some of the books written on tigers, you will know that when it comes to tiger conservation, also mythology has always played a very, very critical role. The goddess Durga, she uses tigers as as a vehicle. I mean, she rides on a tiger, and
Yes.
you visit temples, you see images of these gods and all sitting on tigers, wearing leopard skins. So that's where the connect starts, and that's where people start believing that these animals are these animals are not supposed to be killed. They are supposed to be worshipped, because our gods are also using these animals in some other way. So every evening, throughout the day, these leopards are confined to the caves and all. And as soon as the sun sets, the leopards start descending towards the villages in search of prey. And that's the reason why in the evening hours, invariably you will bump into a leopard walking on a village track, trying to enter into a fence in order to catch hold of a goat or a sheep or something. And the dogs play a very important role. The dogs are barking, and immediately that the predator is on the move. But Rabaris are quite chilled about it. They are very casual about it. The leopard is out here; he's going to do this, and they don't bother. So they are busy in their evening chores, and the leopard is busy doing what he's supposed to do.
Wow. Can I ask, Shivang, how do the Rabari tribe protect their kids?
So, there's no kind of a formal protection. Even if you visit those villages, some of the temporary huts and all which they make, there's just a small bush fencing which they have done. There's nothing called electric fencing. No concept of electric fencing is out there. And I guess there's been only one case of a small infant child who was there in a kind of a cradle in one of the villages, and a leopard came, and that leopard lifted this infant child from the cradle, but immediately for some reason that leopard dropped the child and went. So the child survived, and she's got some kind of a leopard mark on her face, and so that particular child in today's time, and now she's a married female, and she's called C3. C3 is like a local name for leopardess. And yeah, and that's the reason when I was working on this book project, that particular female leopard with 4 cubs, we have called that particular female leopard C3 in the book.
It's wonderful.
So that's a leopard walking in the late evening on a temple staircase. There are so many temples out there, and a majority of temples are located on hilltops, and these leopards, as soon as the evening time starts, these leopards start moving in that area. And he's probably just an hour before this image was taken, I saw some pilgrims walking up to the temple, and after an hour there was a leopard walking on the same staircase.
Wow. Are these camera traps, Shivang, or this is actually...
Till now, whatever I've shown you, they are all direct sightings.
Wow.
And Shivang, what were you illuminating this cat with at this point? Was it car headlight?
Yeah, it's a car headlight. So normally, when I was shooting in the night or after sunset, we used to go with 2 cars, and one vehicle used to illuminate the subject, and I used to sit in the other vehicle and shoot the subject, so that there's some kind of a directional light.
Very interesting.
So, that's a leopard sitting near a makeshift kind of a temple. You can see a small temple structure, and the leopard is quite calm. In fact, there's another subsequent image we have in the series where on the top of this leopard, there's a goat also standing up there. And the leopard is calm.
So you mean to say people would actually come to this idol and be chilled about it, worship, pray?
You can actually see those, there are some cans out there, so I'm sure there would be some kind of offerings which people would be making to the god. So you can see those two little cans out there. So maybe it has some kind of offering or some kind of a devotional material which is kept in those cans. So it's an active running temple.
Wow.
Even
I gotta confess, I don't think I would have the guts to go there and pray and become an offering accidentally.
and I think
become a story in Shivang's future presentation.
And I think visually in this particular image, if anyone was standing at the temple, I'm sure that person would not be able to see the leopard because, you know, the rock pattern above you is, you know, the leopard is behind the rock. So, so maybe whenever you go to Javai and if you're visiting a temple, you should always know that there is a leopard somewhere watching you.
I'm going to first look everywhere else.
That's another temple, and there's another leopard. And this is at around 6:30 in the evening. It's not even dark that time. So, but immediately as soon as the human movement goes down, the leopard movement increases around these temples.
It's interesting.
So in order to, you know, study the life of these leopards in a more intricate manner, I also use technology in the form of DSLR camera traps. So there are certain hills out there, and those hills come as a part of the private land. So, you know, it is easier to deploy camera traps out there. But, you know, I enjoy doing a fair bit of DSLR camera trapping, but in this particular project, camera trapping was slightly more difficult and challenging because we had taken a decision not to use flashes because, you know, by using flashes, you're basically spooking the animal, and probably, you know, if a leopard is using a particular cave regularly, you know, one night of flash and he'll probably disappear for the next 15 days. So, and then the challenge is the challenge is on us to find the leopard again. So in order to reduce our work and to ensure that, you know, the sightings are happening on a regular basis, we decided not to use flashes. So essentially, because of that, the productivity of camera trapping went down by 50%. So, you know, whenever I used to deploy a trap, and after a few days when I used to check the trap, there were at least, you know, hundreds and hundreds of blank fires throughout the night. So probably a leopard was moving around the trap, but since there were no flashes, so they were all just blank fires. So my only hope was to get some leopard moving around these traps during the daytime. So that was one female leopard which entered a cave during the daytime.
Wow. Art, do you use camera trapping like this? Have you used those before?
No, I've never. I'm so non-technical. I'm intimidated, even though I know they've really made advances in technology. I've never used a camera trap. Hey, so I've lost the slideshow. It's no longer in front of me. I see all YouTube.
We can see it. Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah, we can see it all totally fine.
Should I?
Okay.
Should I reshare the presentation?
Yeah, I've lost the images, and I'm sure it's my end and not yours. Although I see all three of us.
Yeah, I think, do you see it now? He's resharing, Art.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, do you see it now, Art? Or is something technical? You do?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Great. No wonder I knew something's wrong. You were so quiet, Art. I said, what up? It's like, is it the tequila or what?
I've been watching it. I've been watching this all the way up until this image. The minute it came up, it shut down. So no, you're talking a lot, and because I know a lot of the answers, because I was there with Shivang, I'm letting you ask those questions.
Got it. Cool.
But
yes,
I like
now,
cat. I mean, I like the way the tail and everything is working, and it's like, yeah, it's not too happy about that trap, is it?
Yeah, and I think the leopard, this particular female leopard was also pregnant during that time, because when I zoomed into the image, I could see that maybe she has given birth to cubs, or she was supposed to give birth to cubs in those days.
Shivang, when you do the camera traps, and again, these are all, actually, I don't know the answers to these since I've never used any of them. Is it you have to put multiple camera traps, or do you kind of go in one location and just hope you're lucky?
Well, camera trapping is, it's a kind of a game where the more the number of camera traps, the less number of camera traps. I mean, when I started, using this technology of DSLR camera trapping, I think I just started with 2 camera traps. That time, I used to wonder that, I need around at least 5 to 6 camera traps in the coming years. Now I have a setup of around 6 camera traps, and now I wonder that, I need at least around 15 camera traps. So essentially, when you have more traps, you are able to plug in various trails to various areas, and then your productivity increases. And I also think about it from that point of view that, say I'm doing a 10-day camera trapping work with 5 cameras. So every night is equal to 5 nights. Right? So over a 10-day period with 5 camera traps, you are effectively talking about 50 nights.
Right.
Right. So, for instance, I know that people like Steve Winters and all, they have done DSLR camera trapping in places like Bandhavgarh. And there was a huge inventory of DSLR traps which they got to that location, nearly around 100 odd DSLR traps, and they did a 30-day work out there. So just imagine the number of nights.
Get the scale. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and it's quite a evolving technology. The learning curve is quite steep when it comes to DSLR camera trapping. Every kind of habitat, every kind of location requires a different technique and a different skill set. So probably whatever I have done in Javai would not be cannot be replicated in a place like Corbett, which is an elephant infected area. There are a lot of elephants, and elephants can do some very brutal things to your camera traps. So,
wow.
Those pesky elephants.
So, that's another camera trap image. And I think this by far has been my quickest deployment, which has resulted in a return. So this is that female leopard, C3. She had actually made a goat kill in this cave. And we were there in the morning, and we were seeing her and the cubs. They were all loitering around on the rocks. And so my guide told me that, there's a kill in the cave. So I said, okay, fine. Till the time she's out of the cave, I'll quickly sneak inside the cave and just put up a camera trap. So I set up the trap at around 10 o'clock in the morning. And this was probably, it was very near to the village. So even the safety of the camera from a human point of view was a problem. There could have been a chance that the camera was stolen. So I set up the camera at around 10 o'clock, went for my lunch and all after that. As soon as I came back by around 2 o'clock, the female had entered into the cave, and she gave this image. She sniffed the camera, and probably she had a share of kill, and she went off from there. So yeah, within 2-3 hours of setting up a camera trap, I don't think I've ever got any kind of image. So this is the only case where the animal responded to camera trap within 2-3 hours.
There's a couple of questions on Facebook, if I can ask on their behalf, from both Zubin and Carolyn from Facebook, is what is a camera trapping? So if you don't mind just kind of explaining what it means and how it works.
So camera trapping it's basically, I mean, on a lighter note, you can say that if we are lazy photographers, you just set up a camera trap and you sleep in your room and your camera is working for you. But scientifically, if you think about it, it's basically a camera which is attached to a motion sensor. And in certain cases, we also put a couple of flashes out there. So as soon as an animal passes through that camera, through that sensor, immediately that sensor starts talking to your camera is activated, it takes a shot. And so it's a technology which is used for creating new perspectives, especially when it comes to predators like tigers and leopards. You can create some very interesting wide-angle perspectives. Plus, for a lot of cat species which are very shy, elusive, nocturnal, species like civets, wild cats like clouded leopards, or small cats like leopard cats, jungle cats, rusty spotted cats. So there are a lot of these small cats which are very, very shy and elusive. So using DSLR traps, you can you can capture the nocturnal behavior of these species. And it's a very engaging process because everything is about pre-visualization. I mean, when you are setting up a camera trap, there's nothing in front of you. I mean, you are just visualizing, oh, if a leopard enters this frame, this is where the camera should trigger, and this should be the first shot, this should be the second shot, and that's it. So the returns are, I mean, it's not like firing a 1DX at 14 frames per second. You essentially end up setting up a few traps, and in a 10-day period, you just get a couple of images which can be used. So that's the DSLR camera trap technology. So yeah, so this was about leopards entering into shepherds' caves and hunting for goats, and the image is also very interesting because the goat which was being killed out there, the shepherd was also moving around, and he was quite chilled about it. He said that, okay, fine, it's an offering to Lord Shiva. So,
well, and just to finish this, humans are living everywhere around these rocks where the leopards live. And you can see that even in the tree beyond the cat, where the wood has been cut for firewood.
yes.
That's not a tree that's growing naturally. That's one that's been affected by humans for firewood and resource.
That this particular tree out there, it has been cut. So I'm sure the shepherds would have chopped up the tree, used the thing for firewood or something like that. That's a great observation. I never noticed that.
It is a really good observation, Art. Like, I did not make that connection,
Yeah.
So it might be obvious to you, but thanks for pointing it out. You're right.
Well, and you asked earlier, how are the kids protected? I remember being in some villages where kids are not allowed to play up in the rocks because that's where the leopards live. So I think that there's a respect for the leopards that leave them alone. This is where they're having their cubs, and you kids are not allowed to go up in those rocks. And so there's this rapport between the cats and the humans that is extraordinary. And you've made a really good point, Shivang, about that. But that was the first thing that really struck me, is that the people that live in and around leopard country, they're sharing the same environment. During the night, the leopards come down out of the rocks, and in some cases take the stray dogs that are kind of yapping. And beyond the goats, the dogs are often food for the cats as well. So it's a really interesting dynamic that you've shown us.
Yes, and this thing has been existing for centuries now, and I just hope that this unique coexistence of these predators with humans, it will continue to happen like this, because I always have a problem with the word when we use the word conflict, because conflict has a very negative connotation. So the word coexistence sounds much better.
Yeah. In sound and in effect, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's it from my side. These are some of the books which I have written. I've always been very inspired by art and his way of writing, his way of presenting stories. And out of the three books, the third one which you are seeing out there, that's the story of the leopards and shepherds of Javai. And in case you want to order any of these books, you can just visit that particular website and place an online order.
It's beautiful.
So, Shivang, you like cats. I mean, I know you photograph other animals, but boy, cats are really tops for you.
Well, I think I like to photograph anything which is in good light, whether it is cats or birds or even a landscape, or in some cases people as well. But yeah, a majority of my work has been around cats. In the past 6 to 7 years, I've started diversifying from big cats to small cats, and I've started realizing that the smaller the cat, the tougher is the challenge to photograph that cat. So last year I worked on a nice project on the world's smallest cat, which is found in India. It's called a rusty spotted cat. It's also found in this particular landscape, Javai. But I worked in a place called Satpura in central India. So it was quite a challenge to, for 7 days, switching your mind off from leopards and tigers roaming around in that forest. I think a lot of people were making fun of us as well, because there was a leopard sighting going on somewhere, and I was just circling a small 2 square kilometer area searching for the world's smallest cat in the night. But those challenges are nice, and when you get results from a small cat, I'm as happy as when I photographed a tiger.
That's lovely. What is Shivang? I know the answer to this one, but just for our audience, tell us a bit about Nature Wanderers that you started.
Nature Wanderers is a company which I started around 14 years back. And it's one of India's, that time it was the pioneering venture for wildlife photo tourism in India. There was no other company which was offering wildlife photography tours. So over the years, we have done more than 1,000 odd wildlife photography tours to various places of the world. And as a part of the company, we work with a lot of international photographers who want to come to India, do some specific projects around, species like tigers, leopards, snow leopards, red pandas. Well, we have a lot of things to offer in India. Country is such an amazing country that right from cats to primates to birds, there's something going on in every part of India. So
that's wonderful.
So as a part of the company, we conduct these programs. We are logistical partners for filmmakers as well who want to come to India to film any particular species. So that's the broad portfolio of the work done by the company.
That's nice. You're a pioneer. I like it that you are an entrepreneur and you're a self-made man. That's wonderful, Shivang. I have a couple of questions from the audience. One is from our mutual friend, Piper. Piper's question is, how long have you been taking, leopard photos, if you will, and kind of what is your background?
My background is, I used to be a journalist earlier. And from journalism, I moved into PR, public relations. And that's when, around 16, 17 years back, I consider myself, I always say that wildlife photography are two different words. One is wildlife and the other thing is photography. So I'm probably a wildlife guy first, because that's how my career started. I trained myself as a naturalist in Corbett National Park. And photography always became like a byproduct. So, sometimes I think about it that I'm also happy if I'm there without a camera, because if there's something happening in front of me, I just enjoy watching that. And at times the camera is a distraction also. Then it's something which is obstructing between you and that moment. So there is a kind of obstruction. So yeah. So for me, learning about behaviors of various species is as fascinating as photographing them.
It's wonderful. I have a couple things more, but I want to give Art an opportunity. Art, any questions or any comments or thoughts for Shivang?
I feel like I'm back in India to hear all the beeping behind you, Shivang. It's back fond memories.
Of course, the day has started, so India is on the move.
I heard a vegetable seller, in the background selling vegetables in the morning. Made me hungry.
Hey, so Shivang, what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite park in India for photographing tigers, or are they all just good to you?
Okay, so now there are two separate things. One is photographing tigers, and you said the favorite park. So I always enjoy working in Corbett because the nature of the kind of images which I do, which involves playing around with light, an element of mist, environment. So I don't think there's any other place in India. There are very few places in the world, in fact, which can match the dynamic beauty of Corbett. There's a sal forest, there's a Himalayan river, there's a grassland out there, and I guess there are very few places in the world where you can see a tiger crossing a Himalayan river with the Himalayas in the backdrop, with the hills in the backdrop. So that's the magic of that particular place. Plus, as a wildlife person, I've grown reading books written by Jim Corbett. As a school student, I used to read those kind of books. His fascinating man-eating stories of tigers and leopards. So when you're there in that particular location, you are actually able to relate to what he has written, because Corbett himself was a terrific writer. The way he talks and depicts that particular landscape, it's actually like a screenplay which he has written. You can literally go to that particular area and then think about, oh, he has written about this particular area.
Wow.
So the second part of your question is about photographing tigers. I guess this is something which I talk to a lot of international photographers, and I keep telling them that as a country, we have got so many different kinds of habitats. Now it's a question of where you can create beautiful tiger images, because a tiger from, say, Bandhavgarh or Ranthambore or Tadoba, all these places, a tiger is a tiger. He looks the same. The only difference is the environment in which you shoot the tiger. So I guess I enjoy working in places like Ranthambore, Bandhavgarh. Kana is quite nice. It's a beautiful sal forest out there. And these are some places where you get to see tigers quite easily as well. If you're spending, say, 4-5 days, you will have some good sightings. So, but yeah, it's always important to keep on experimenting with your tiger habitats. Otherwise, the imagery becomes very monotonous. If someone is just photographing tigers in, say, Ranthambore for many years, you'll end up creating very similar kind of images. Because
True.
You have the same rocks, you have the same palace out there. You will get a good portfolio of Ranthambore tigers. But if I talk about a good tiger portfolio, it has to be widespread in various forests of India.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Shivang, so I got two things for you. One is a really fast rapid fire, if you're up for it. And I didn't tell you to prepare for this. Rapid fire. Are you up for it?
Yes.
We're going to do it in 2 minutes, but really fast. Because I feel like I want to pick on Piper just for fun. Ready for that, Shivang?
Yes, sure.
How are you going to enjoy this? Okay. I'm going to give you two options. You got to pick one without thinking, real fast. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Chai or coffee?
Coffee.
India or Africa?
India.
Piper or Parimal? Both are watching. Be careful. Be careful.
Piper.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Piper, there you go. Okay. Wildlife or photography?
Wildlife.
Okay. Tigers or leopards?
Tigers.
Okay. So that means we have to have you back to talk tigers next time.
Of course. I mean, tigers will always remain my first love. I mean, as the amount of time I have spent with tigers, I would not have spent that much time with my family as well. So
Oh my God, that is funny. That is cool. One last question before we wrap it up, Shivang.
yeah.
And we ask this to all the photographers who come to Earth as a Witness. With all the experience you have and all the things you have witnessed, in India and around the world, in wildlife or as a photographer, if you had to say one thing to all our fellow photographers or fellow human species, what would that be and why?
I think I would just say that as wildlife photographers, we, rather than merely picking up the camera and shooting, we are there to tell stories of the natural world. So, so whatever work people are doing as a part of this field, it's important for you guys, because we can well qualify ourselves and say that we are probably the brand ambassadors of the natural world. So it's important to keep telling fascinating stories, because that is what people understand.
Great.
Well, and I'll take a step beyond that.
Please.
Is telling our stories, but compelling people to contribute. And that's what I say is, we're not just telling stories, but we're trying to affect people and behaviors because we care so much about the natural world.
Yes.
And so you want to affect people with our story.
Definitely. I mean, as storytellers, wildlife photographers do create a great impact, because images are wonderful ways of telling stories. I mean, I can probably write an article out here on the leopards and shepherds, but it just took me 15 images to showcase a story to you.
Yeah.
Art, I'm sure you're thinking, man, I wish you were in India right now taking photos, and you probably are thinking.
Yeah, I would have been in India right now with Shivang photographing red pandas.
Yes.
Right now.
Yeah.
But COVID.
10th of November was supposed to be the date we were supposed to reach the Himalayas for red pandas. And
Great.
probably,
with that, Art, thank you very much. All our audience, thank you very much. Please remember to go check out Shivang's images and these beautiful books on naturewanderers.com. Also, don't forget to share Earth as a Witness, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. More the better, so more people can be inspired by just such amazing work. And one big round of applause and thanks again to my friend Shivang. Really, it's really interesting. I got to say, I learned so many new things here. I mean, I am from India, yet I didn't know this place called Javai. I didn't know we had 14,000 leopards. I didn't know that mythology plays such a big role, in how humanity looks at leopards. So thanks for the very educational story, that you have shared with us today. Thanks a lot.
thank you, Parimal, and thank you, Art, for giving this opportunity. I mean, I keep on following the Earth as a Witness page, and even I keep on learning a lot from the fellow photographers.
That's great.
And if people buy your book, you will autograph it to them specifically.
Definitely.
I will be calling you. I need my book. I would love to get one book from you.
Definitely.
Make him buy it, Shivang. Don't give it to him.
No, you don't need to buy it, Art. I mean, I've been inspired to do all these things from you, so I can't sell a book to you.
No, I get it. You give me a book, but you make Parimal buy his.
No. Don't listen to him. You sell him a book, you give me a book. Let's be clear about that. You didn't pick me over Piper. At least give me the damn book, okay? Okay. Thanks a lot. This is fun. This is fun, entertaining, and inspiring. Thanks a lot, Shivang, and we'll have you back soon on Tigers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.